Welcome to the Young Man's Podcast. My name is Michael Bremer, and my co-host here is
Byron and Latham.
So we're here just to talk a few things about what young men of the 21st century are dealing with. Both of us are young men in the world. We're both working. We both live on our own. We're both married. I have one young baby girl. So to get us started, Byron, what do you think about some of the problems that we're dealing with regarding like mental health? I know a lot of young guys are claiming they have all sorts of mental health issues. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there's balance in that, and the fact that you have some that are just raised up sissies. I mean, I'm just being honest. I work in the whole field, and it's a rough neck of the woods over there. But you got some people that they're just sissies, and that's what they are. Not that they could be better, they don't try, and it's really on them. And then you've got some people that truly do, have a mental sickness, whether it's been, whether they were born with it or they, developed it. And what I mean by that is just, the whole purpose of school, you think about it, is just that repetition, and it gets ingrained in your brain. What else can be ingrained in your brain that way? You watch enough junk, eventually your brain's going to absorb that, and it's going to show. You're going to, if you watch bad things on the internet, you're going to have bad behavior. You think about what people's kids are watching and how they're acting. A lot of that, there's a lot of reasons why they act that way, but I think that's one of them.
What are some of the things that, if they have it or they think they have it, I think a lot of the mental health things are often a way to be the victim of something so that it's someone else's fault for their downfall. But whether or not that's the case or not, and you notice, okay, I'm dealing with this struggle, whether it be ADHD, whether it be autism, whatever it may be, just a mental way of looking at life to changing, and just to focus on what you want to accomplish.
You're talking about like real mental health.
Yeah,
that's tough. Yeah. There's some stuff you just can't help. And I get that, and that's just, I ain't gonna get into that one. But you can have it like, I've got ADHD, I got bad ADHD, so I've noticed. But,
I noticed.
Yeah, no, I can't, it's hard for me to focus on something. Like one thing, I get really irritated. I can't work with slow people. If you're too slow, I get pissed off. It's bad, dude, it's real bad. But, and that's something that I've had to work on really in myself, because, there's times where I will be working on something and it's only moving too slow. I will tear it into them, and it's bad, dude. It's real bad. But no, there's some stuff, and it's all about how you discipline yourself. Like, I know people, they say they have Asperger's. I'm not 100% sure what that is, but I don't know. It just seems like, some people do use it as like a crutch, to take up, instead of owning stuff themselves, what they can own, they like to blame it on other things. And it's not just mental health. People find any reason to blame it on something else, make them look better. And that's just part of the fall of man, We don't want to take up for our own. And, it's just part of the sin nature.
And, I think what's real interesting about that, my dad talked to me about this all the time, is especially when I was having trouble with self-validation more of just thinking, okay, I feel like I'm a worthless piece of shit. And ultimately, when you go down that road of woe is me, of it's not my fault, it's everybody else's fault, you start pointing fingers at everything else, and what you end up doing is pointing fingers at God, which, that's a really dangerous road to travel on. So if you want to travel on it, you're pretty much got one direction you're going. So,
oh, for sure. No. What do you think about education?
Education. So we're two uneducated young men. However, that doesn't keep us from moving forward in life. My entire family is very educated. And I don't have anything against it. I think it's a great thing.
Education, what he means by that is college.
Yeah,
we did
college.
High school.
We're not that high school graduates. Yeah, we're not. So I mean, I think it's absolutely great, and I think if that's what you want, then you should aspire to that. I do think that the world is changing, and in 20, 30 years ago, it definitely was a requirement to do anything with any sort of real stroke in the world, um, especially at a younger age. I mean, if you worked really hard all your life, I know a lot of men who have successful careers and have developed wealth and have developed themselves through a lot of hard work that, graduated or didn't graduate high school, that dropped out of eighth grade to go work. There are a lot of people like that, but I think it was much harder 20, 30 years ago to get through life in a more comfortable way of living without an education, really because of the social status. And I think a lot of that's starting to go away. You've got YouTube, you've got learning platforms that are a lot more affordable, easier. You've got upgraded educating methods that aren't a classroom, that help people learn to develop themselves.
Sure.
And I think that really it's the route that you want to go. Ultimately, if you want to use it for a career, then use it for a career. I don't think that's the only thing you should use it for. So I mean, it's a really deep subject, and there's a lot to it, but it really depends on what you want to go through in your life. And if you want to get an education, then go get it. Don't let anybody tell you not to. And if you don't want to, you need to really decide and look at it and say, okay, why do I not want to go to college? Is it because of the factors of my parents want me to go? I dealt with that. I disappointed my entire family when I dropped out of college. And I think I turned out okay, and they all had to deal with it, and so did I. But I had to really look at it and prioritize. Okay, why am I going to college now? What am I going to get out of it? And if I go this other route, am I going to be able to still lead the same kind of life I want to lead? And I think ultimately I made the right decision. However, it can be a debated thing. So it really has to do with what you want to do with your life and who you want to be known for, and really put it on yourself. Seek counsel and advice, but dealing with what you think is right for your life.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, honestly, you heard of the slingshot effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the old timey slingshots. It was not the type that you got the stick and plastic band. The old ones, it was just two bands, and there was a little socket, and you'd sling it around. Well, when it come back around, that's when it would fire off. Well, you think about it, you're talking about back in the day, you go have a college degree, you can get a job, that was kind of the thing you did, and you could be successful in that. Well, now, you think about it, that's come around. How good is just straight up a hard worker? How hard is that to find now? Mm-hmm. And I think that's what it's come to. You have all these people that's just what you did. That's what they did. Their parents did. And so their parents want them to do it. Well, now you have all these college educated people, but no one wants to work hard anymore. And I'm not saying not everybody, but it's really hard to find someone that just wants to work hard.
Yeah.
And that can go a long way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, for sure.
Well, especially after COVID and all that, everybody they just don't want to work hard anymore. I've worked with some guys when I was welding, and it's just like, bro, I don't know if you're cut out for this. You're slowing us down. You're in the way on the job site. Right. That's definitely something to talk about. So the next kind of thing that we feel is kind of important is peer pressure. I dealt with a lot of it. Not really. I was homeschooled. Both of us were homeschooled. I dealt with it when I got into the workplace. I got into a sales job and kind of outside of my comfort zone of being around Christian folks that were raised with the same values as me. And Byron really dealt with it, I'm sure, when he went to the oil field out of school.
That's a rough place. The oil field, you're out there. It's all different, but my shift was 2 weeks out, 1 week back. Mm-hmm. And, you're basically living with it, with a whole bunch of guys. You get up, you go to work, you go to bed, you don't sleep all in the same room, but, I mean, sometimes you're sharing it with somebody, but you're just constantly, and it goes back to what I was talking about, filling the mind with the mental health, filling your mind with, the more you fill it with, it's going to start to come out with your actions. The Bible talks about that, choose who you hang around, mm-hmm. And it's there for a reason, if you're not careful and you just hang out with anybody, you're going to start acting like it. And it goes with that even to, if you want to be successful in life, you got to look. You got to keep it at the forefront of what you're going for. And if the people that you're hanging out with do not have that, you shouldn't be hanging out with them. And I mean, you think about people that are successful. Who do they hang out with? They don't
Successful people.
Right. And people be like, oh, successful people, they only hang out with rich people. They're too good for us poor folk. It's not that at all. I'm sure there's some stuff with rich people out there.
Sure, but so you were in you didn't have a choice, right?
I had a choice.
Okay.
I worked there for a year and a half before, and I got out of it. Got married, and I'm back in it again. And this time I'm taking a little bit different approach. I go there and I do my job. I get back to the room, I talk to my wife. Also, I will say having a wife keeps you accountable. That right there is probably a big reason. Right there, but
what are some of the things that you had to do for initially when you went out there as a single man to keep yourself in check? Because I know they were all getting hookers in their rooms next to you and saying, "Hey, Byron, come over here. We'll get you to have a good time." What did you deal with? What did you have to do to keep yourself in check?
Honestly, that right there has a lot to do with just my upbringing, just the fear of. If my dad knew I was in that, he'd beat the tar out of me. And I have friends, a couple other handful of friends that, they found out they probably beat the crap out of me, a couple of my friends told me they beat me with sticks repeatedly, if I just did it. And we just, you keep each other accountable. And not only that, but, I may have not been living, honestly, if we're being completely honest, I wasn't living for God, at that point in time in my life. And it showed, but there was still that, little bit in me is like, hey, I shouldn't be doing this, I knew it was wrong even though I wasn't, living for God. And, I wasn't reading my Bible and praying every day like I should. And that right there,
It'll get you.
It will, And when you're, that's one thing. If you get up, you read your Bible, first off, like I said, mental health. That's some great mental health right there. Spend a little bit of time. But also, as you go through your day, when you get peer pressured on yourself or people's talking about stuff, you can, your mind's going to be like, hey, I read about this morning. This really shouldn't, and then you go read about it again. And then you make sure that, at the end of the day, making sure that your priorities are in check, if you're accounting for all your, I'm rambling on here, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, if you're talking to God, you have a relationship with Him. It's like this. All right, say you went out and you did stuff. You knew your wife didn't want you to be doing, stuff, hanging out with certain people. Well, at the end of the day, when you go back home, you're going to have to account for all that because she's going to give you an earful, right? Same thing. Why do we treat, God any different? And I know I rambled on a whole bunch of this, but anyway, I guess that's kind of the point I'm trying to make there.
Yeah, and there's something I keep in the front of my mind really all the time. I've just started this recently, and there's Bible verses that talk about how God doesn't give you any temptation that you cannot handle. So there's nothing that you will face in this world that you are not capable of handling. You still have to have the discipline and the strength to do it, but you have that. You just have to implement it, and it's hard. Right?
It is.
So I can get up every morning at 5 o'clock and go to the gym. Do I? Not all the time. Right? Because I fail at what I know I'm supposed to do, and so just you can handle whatever God throws you. So if you've got friends that are trying to take you to the strip club, you just got to say no. You can't. If you got friends that are trying to take you to the strip club, like that kind of dives right in next to our next point is relationships and communication, and you got to keep yourself accountable. And I think relationships are the key. I've had people in my life that will bring me down, right? Sure. And I had to cut them out. And over the past year, I've done a lot of work. And all the people that were kind of okay, but I didn't really care for, that weren't really doing much for me, I started to neglect a lot. And the people that were doing a little bit for me, I started to respect a whole bunch. And I had a bipolar slotted out people, right? So I have a bipolar selection of people in my phone, right? I know this person, I'm not going to hang out with that person. I don't want to talk to that person. I'm going to get away from that person. That person brings temptations into my life. That person brings sloppiness. That person brings sluggardness into my life, something that I can't deal with. And, this person over here brings me up. This person over here helps me focus on who I need to be, and that is super key. And I've ended up cutting people out of my life, a lot of people, and if they're not, and some people they mean really, really well, but if they don't, if they're not bringing to that, maybe they're struggling with something and they know they need a change, but they're not going to right now. There's consequence. You're not going to bring value to my life, so I'm not going to reciprocate that and bring value to yours because it's wasted value right now. Not saying that you shouldn't help a friend out.
Right.
There's a certain point where you have to cleanse your life of excess people, and what'll start happening is you'll have all of these things on your shoulders, and you'll start letting them off. They'll start dropping off. Right? You can argue you'll get stronger, but you won't. You got to let them off your shoulders so you can focus on who you are, and I think that's super, super key. For sure. You have anything to say about that?
Yeah, no, that's pretty much hit it on the head there. Having those friendships is good, but also I think it's good to be accountable to yourself. And what I mean by that is, making an example. Let's say pornography. Okay, that's something that in America, even Christian men, everybody struggles. If you're a guy, I don't know about girls. I'm sure they do. But if you're a guy, you've struggled with it at some point in your life. And anybody who says they haven't, they're probably lying.
Full of crap.
Think about this. If I was struggling with it, I went to you, I said, hey, Michael, I want you to keep me accountable. Okay, there's apps out there. I didn't know if you do. There's apps out there that I can link my phone to yours. You can see what I'm seeing throughout the day. Okay, I want you to be my accountability partner. Okay, but think about this. It's an app. If my heart is not truly wanting to change, I will find a way to get around that. One day I might be in good spirits, but like, Michael, you're my accountability partner. Keep me in check. If I want to go look at that, I'll delete the app for the time being and then download it back. You'll find if you are truly not, wanting to change, you won't. And
again, you have to tap into that source. I know I have the strength to conquer this. And porn is a huge issue. I've struggled with it. I'm sure you've struggled with it. I've struggled with it since I was 12 years old. Yeah. Right? And if you think getting married will change that, you're wrong. Okay? It leads right into your marriage and it'll creep up and bite you in the butt and cause all sorts of problems that are just horrible. Right? And so
your wife and you hear about it and
and it's disgraceful and it's a black mark on your reputation. Right? Forget about your reputation. To be a respectable man isn't about what you do in public. It's what you do when you're alone, right? When the doors are closed, what are you doing?
The Bible talks about that. There's a verse about that. When you start pulling up these verses,
yeah. So those are some really big struggles that guys are having, and I think the porn thing is a huge issue. Instagram is a freaking.
Oh yeah, no, I believe
Instagram. I feel for that shit. Yeah. Because it's basically the same thing. Ask me how I know. Right? That shit ain't good. So the next kind of thing is your body image, right? And so a lot of guys are struggling with this. You might be super skinny, you might be super fat. And what do you do? Again, not how you got there. You're there. But what do you do with it? How do you overcome something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of a cocky person, so I'm kind of arrogant, just a little bit. And so, yeah, I've been skinny my whole life. But I don't know. Like, there's sometimes where, like, yeah, I wouldn't mind if I could put on a few pounds here or there. But, like, I don't know. I just never cared too much about that, you know? And maybe, I don't know. My family just has, like, a bunch of natural, like, athletic talent. And so I was always quicker, faster. And so, like, I didn't even care. I could be skinny. Like, you still can't catch me. Like,
So I never had great self-image, and not so much body image. I've always been kind of chunky. Yeah. And then when there was this one guy, he was my older brother's age, 4 years older than me. Okay. I was determined to beat him in an muscle.
There you go.
So every day I did pull-ups. There was this gateway every morning. I'd go. Yeah. I started with 4 pull-ups. By the time I was done with that 6 months or whatever, I could do like 25 pull-ups. I did it every day. And I built this base, and now I'm kind of a wide-structured guy, and I've been able to build off that easily. I still got my belly fat. I'm still working on that. But I defeated my body image. However, my self-image was just utterly shattered. And a lot of it, I'm the second youngest of 6, right? All of us are smart. All of us are talented musicians and decently talented athletes. We're by no means anybody who's going to be in the NFL or NBA or anything like that, but I'm not as good as piano as my older siblings, right? My older brother plays cello, I play cello, but he's better than me. Yeah. And part of that is I didn't take the time and pour into myself, but nonetheless, I have to walk away and live my life knowing that my siblings are more talented than me. So that's something I've had to work on, and it's really something, do the work, right? Yeah. Figure out what is bothering you, and if you feel like you're fat, go to the gym. Just do the work. Stop eating the French fries. Don't eat the entire burger. Right? Start there. Leave a bite left of your burger every time you have one. Don't order the French fries. Hell, don't order a Coke. Or tea. Tea has a bunch of calories. I mean, just pursue a way to make yourself better. That was a story, and I think this is really, really powerful. And Andrew Tate is a huge controversy, but I really like Andrew Tate. I think he brings a lot of things to the value, and a lot of things that have encouraged me and kept me in line with myself, saying, okay, just screw dealing with your own excuses and focus on yourself. There was a story, and he said, someone emailed him. He said, hey, I'm going to kill myself. You probably aren't going to read this email, but I'm going to do it. And he emailed this guy back. He said, I can't tell you not to, and I'm not telling you to do it. But promise me one thing: get a 6-pack before you decide to kill yourself. Just do that for me, right? This is Andrew Tate, billionaire, celebrity, asking you to get a 6-pack. And the guy got a 6-pack, and the guy has a great self-image now, and he worked really hard to get that because he had somebody keeping him accountable for it, and it changed his life, right? And to take time and focus on yourself will change your life. And you'll become more happy when you start doing things for yourself, right? I came from sales, so Zig Ziglar's a big name in my head. He had the "What's in it for me" podcast. Okay, so what is in it for me? What's in this life for me? And not to be selfish and not to be full of yourself. But part of it, you got to have the confidence of, okay, what am I going to get out of this, right? If you want to be successful in business, you don't give things away for free. I mean, if you do, you do it for bait to get them to buy a whole lot of other stuff, right? Yeah. So a lot of software is like that. You can use a little bit here and a little bit there, but oh wait, you can't record for more than 15 minutes. You have to upgrade, whatever it is. But if you're going to be in business, you have to say, okay, what's in it for me, right? Yeah. If I go fix somebody's sprinkler system and it's this couple that is obviously kind of poor and they really want it fixed, but they don't necessarily have the money, I can't sit there and fix it for free. I'm in for business. Maybe if they're a buddy of mine, I'd help them out, but that's completely different. They called me to do a service. I show up, I say it's X amount of dollars. They say, oh, well, we can't afford it. It's like, okay, you can't afford it. I'm out, right? Or I'll do part of it, or I'll do your bare minimums, whatever. I'll work with them, but you can't forget, okay, what's in it for me? I'm trying to make a living here. I need to put food on the table, because if I don't sell my stuff to you, my little girl doesn't get dinner. Right? Oh, yeah. And so if you're going to focus on yourself and be better, you've got to focus, like I said, on yourself. Yeah. Because if you don't, you'll end up you'll end up giving yourself away.
Yeah, and I think that goes into our next point perfectly, financial pressure.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah. So I mean, financial pressure is a huge thing. And I love sales because I wasn't doing it right. A lot of people left that store. They were like, the leads weren't good. The customers were no good. This is all crap. And bottom line was they weren't doing the work. They weren't talking to everybody they could talk to. They weren't making their phone calls.
Yeah.
They weren't sending out their texts and emails. They weren't hustling. They weren't selling shit. And that was on me to do so. And my wife got pregnant. Bills went way up. And I said, okay, I've got to switch because I'm responsible here. So I switched to something I knew I could do, and now we're okay, right? So, and it's been struggle, but the financial pressure, and you experienced it a little bit when you left the oil field. You got into you were working for what, a tree guy?
I worked when I first got out of the oil field, I worked for a mechanic. And honestly, I enjoyed that, and I was making enough to pay the bills, and we weren't falling behind or anything, but we weren't able to save anything, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not comfortable just being stagnant, you know, just making sure the bills are paid. I want to do more, you know. I want to build something. I want to build an empire. I wasn't able to do that, so you know. I did work for a tree guy for, you know, a little while, but I ended up back in the oil field, and, you know, and that's, you know, like I said before, that's a rough kind of deal. It's not for everybody. I say that. Anybody can do it, but for some people, you know.
I'm not going out there.
Yeah, you know, you got a kid. I wouldn't recommend it unless you had to.
And if I have to, then I will, and that's my decision.
Yeah.
It's my responsibility, right?
Exactly.
So it's my if I can't pay the bills, and that is my avenue to pay the bills, that is my sacrifice that I have to make to be responsible for my well-being, my family's well-being.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think that's a good motivation as well. You know, for you and your dad are building a company together. That's a good, you know, good way to get a little pep in your step there. You know, when you're going and trying to sell systems to people or work on their stuff, you're trying to do the best job you can, so they call you back, so you can get, you know, get food on the table, like you were saying, you know, and that'll get you moving a little bit in the mornings, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I mean, that's all really important stuff, and if you're dealing with that, man, you just got to focus on what you're good at, focus on what you can do, not what everybody says. Do what you love and you won't do it. I think that's kind of a pile of horse crap, because ultimately, I don't want to dig. I don't like digging trenches to put sprinklers in the ground. Okay, I don't like finding valves in the ground that are buried 2 feet and I don't know where to start. Okay, that's not something I like to do, but it's what I have to do, and there's a responsibility to do it. It's not about what you love. If you can do what you love and make money at it, then great, do it. Right,
that's awesome.
But don't focus on that. If you're good at it and it's profitable, go for it. But don't say, "Oh, I don't love this, so I'm not going to do that." No, I think that's an excuse, and you're saying I'm a victim of not loving something that I could do to make money, or whatever it is. You know? It doesn't have to be money. It could be however you provide, or whatever you're trying to provide for. Right?
Mm-hmm. Not just that, but you got to look at the bigger picture too. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't like digging holes, right? But you're doing it so that one day maybe you might not have to do that anymore. You can hire somebody to do that for you, you know?
Yeah. No, I can tell them to do it for my private jet.
Yeah.
Right?
That's something like that, you know?
That's the goal. Yeah. And that's where I'm starting, and I don't want to do it, but that's what I'm going to do. Right?
People don't like doing the grunt work, and, you know, make a plan. That's something the Bible actually talks about that, you know, where there's no vision, the people fall. You know, make a plan. You know, if you're just job hopping because you didn't like this job or this one wasn't paying enough, and you're just hopping around and you're just kind of floating, you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to do that forever. You might get lucky and find a job that's, you know, successful.
But nobody's going to trust you. Man, if you tell your family, "Hey, I'm selling Fords. I'm selling at the Ford dealership. That's what I'm doing." And a year later, you're saying, "Hey, man, I'm selling roofs. There's great money in roofs. I'm going to kick butt. I'm going to sell all these roofs, you know, I'm going to be the best there is." And then a year later, "Oh, man, I'm out in the oil field selling roofs." It was crap. That was a bunch of horse crap. and I'm going to go to the oil field and work really hard out there. And then you wonder why your family don't buy stuff. You wonder why your friends don't say, "Hey man, I want to buy a truck from you," because you don't know anything. You keep hopping around. You're not being consistent, and being consistent with your work, being consistent with yourself is super, super helpful. But that is really a huge subject that we're not diving in today. The next thing on the roster is really social media. So this is something you can use or something that can use you, right? So a lot of people say social media is great, but those are the people who are using it, right? I'm on social media all the time, but I'm not just scrolling through TikTok. I mean, I do, but I'm also putting stuff on TikTok.
Yeah.
I'm also putting stuff on Facebook, on Instagram. Yeah. So what are kind of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that's social media, like you said. You hit it right there. Use it or it'll use you, kind of deal. It's a tool if you use it properly. It's really good. You think everybody has social media nowadays. If you're trying to build a business, you put up on social media. You can get leads, sales leads, stuff like that. Yeah, through social media. Most everything these days is done. Payment. It's not through social media, but it's through the interweb. All that stuff. It's a tool if you use it and think about it that way. But social media can also bring you down. You can find yourself spending too much time on there, and that's really bad. It'll take you down a bad road. You get addicted to that, and then that's all you look forward to. At your lunch breaks, you're just sitting there scrolling through your phone. It's not good.
Yeah, and if it's something you're struggling with, right? We talked about Instagram a second ago, right? Mm-hmm. So if it's something you're struggling with, get rid of it. Delete it.
Oh,
and maybe you want to try yourself a little bit and don't delete it, but say, okay, I'm only going to spend 15 minutes on Instagram and 10 minutes on Facebook, and I'm going to spend what time I would have used on there on reading a book, or on working on my business plan, or on focusing on my relationships. So if you count up all the time you're on social media, count it up. Your phone most of the time will tell you, hey, you spent this much time. Look at your screen time on your iPhone.
Yeah.
My other iPhone told me all the time. Say, hey man, you spent this much time on this app. Holy cow. Yeah. What am I doing with my time?
Sure.
Just like, holy cow, what am I doing with my money? I buy a Red Bull every morning. That crap adds up.
Oh, for sure.
Where? $100 a month in Red Bull? What? You can drink water, right? Or make coffee at home. Yeah, most of the time.
No, that's for sure. Whenever I work on the oil field, and this time around, I'm trying to. We were talking about jobs earlier, not to get back into that, but I worked in the oil field last time, and I spent a lot of money. I made a lot of money, but I spent a lot of money, and I feel like I wasn't able to save as much as I possibly could. Because of that, I remember getting up and going to the store every morning. We make a store stop before we go to a location. And food up there's a lot more expensive. Food, drinks, stuff like that. But, just in snacks and drinks for the day, I'd probably rack up close to $40 a day just in that. Not including like lunch, dinner, any of that. Just snacks for the day. And, that adds up a lot. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah. So it's something to really focus on. And if social media, finances, relationships, if you're spending your time with people who aren't investing in you, I tried that. So everybody says, don't contact your friends for a week or a month and see who contacts you first. And if they don't, then you know something, right? Yeah. I tried that, and my friends called me. Right, and then I tried it again, and then, well, what do you know? This motherfucker's calling me again. Holy cow! Yeah. I must have some good friends, and I could see that value there. And then I saw who didn't call. Right, yeah. I saw the people I was calling and who weren't calling me back, and said, okay, let's put this guy in the middle and see what he's got to offer. right? Because I know what I have done, right? So you have to do that to your friends.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do that with sometimes even your family, right? If you're spending a lot of time with your brother, that's great, but you got to make sure it's worth it. Okay?
Oh yeah.
Brother, family is the best thing to have, but if you're not going to build each other, you're more in each other's way than anything.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna move on to the next point.
Yep.
Identity and self-discovery.
I think that goes hand in hand with social media, the bad side of social media.
Yeah.
Looking at you see like I said, everybody's on social media. You got people posting pictures of themselves, their status.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big thing now. Everybody wants to have the new car, the new boat, the new house.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. If you have the means and that's what you're going for, go for it. But I think people over glorify that. They make a false image of themselves on social media because they're not happy with their image in person.
Right. And I think, once you start making steps to help yourself, once you really dive in and start cutting off the excess fat, once you start cutting off all your loose ends, when you're in the gym, when you spend time meditating's great.
Yeah.
When you spend time meditating, when you spend time with your family, when you spend time with your good friends, you start to build yourself up, and your identity becomes apparent. Everybody's, well, I don't know what I'm here for. Oh, I don't know, what I'm supposed to do with my life. Figure it out, right? And this is going to help you figure it out. You've got to focus on all of the things and connect your outer self with your inner self.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You've got to understand, okay, I'm doing these things. What are they leading to?
Sure.
What is that saying about me? All right? If you want to figure out who you are, you figure out what you do for people and how people treat you. Why do they treat you the way that you treat you? And kind of like, there's an image, and it's this sculpture of this statue, right? And the bottom half is this really big fat guy, right? And about here at the waist, it cuts and it's this guy with abs and a shredded body, and it's a picture of him holding a hammer with a chisel, carving out the fat and carving himself into a good self-body image, right? And you do that naturally. If you focus on yourself, I've seen certain people in my life just make absolute transformations. When it comes to weight, when it becomes who they are, how they act, how they treat everybody, it becomes very apparent that they have been working on themselves, and they see themselves in a different image, different lens, saying, okay, I'm not this fat guy that everybody hates. No, I'm a good-looking, bad motherfucker. Okay? Because when you start to look at yourself like that, you start to see who you want to be. Like, he has no problem doing this, right? Byron has no issue doing this because he's a cocky little shit, right? And so there are a lot of benefits to that. He can go up to I always think about, okay, when you're starting a new business, right? When I went and did my first irrigation job alone, I was scared as crap. I didn't know what these people had. Sure, I had a lot of experience with it, but I always had experience with another guy who knows way more than me about it, right? So when I told this lady, look, you have this, and this, this is going to be $1,200 to get you fixed up, right? And this is my first time out, and I made it look like I've done this 150,000 times, and it's no big deal, right? Because that's what you have to do. You have to project yourself like that, because ultimately, if you project yourself like that, you're going to be like that. There's a song that starts with, I'm going to tell you I'm the greatest ever, until both of us believe that, okay? And that's what you got to do, right?
So, you're saying you like Andrew Tate, okay?
Yeah.
Talking about self-image. I was saying that on social media, people will put, false images of what they aspire to be.
Sure.
But they're not actually putting in the work to do that. I feel like, I don't know I've got mixed feelings about Andrew Tate. I definitely think he's got some good stuff, but there's some things, I feel like our personalities clash a little bit, and that's fine. That's fine, but one thing that I have noticed is he has put in the work everything he has done
Mm-hmm.
is the real him. And the reason that you can see that is you see the followers. He doesn't have to tell you who he is. He has an entire following list. It's there. The evidence is there.
Yeah.
And that's not saying that he's doing it all right. Nobody's gonna do it all right, but he's doing what he says he's gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he hasn't. You talk about your friends. Who's gonna call you if you stop calling them?
Mm-hmm.
He's picked out those people.
Mm-hmm.
He's filtered it out.
Yeah.
And those people are following him.
Yeah.
And I think if you are living your life right, and you shouldn't have to brag about yourself. You shouldn't have to post something. Somebody else is going to say, hey, this guy right here,
Yeah.
And
you get a personal referral.
Exactly.
Right.
And that goes hand in hand with, say someone was to talk trash about you, if you have a good report, or if you've made a, everything you've done, everybody sees like, hey, this guy is legit. Someone says, they saw you snoop around. Like, no, I know him. He wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And the Bible talks about that.
Bearing false witness, man.
Well, not just that, but it says, be of good report.
Yeah.
I
like to think of you have your own credit report, right? So your credit report on your FICO score, and then your credit report with your people around you, and you got to build that up because if you don't, if you're not a man of your word, if you're not a man of confidence, if you're not a capable man, you end up fluttering, and people can't count on you.
Yeah.
There's certain people in my life who are very skilled and talented, but when I pick up the phone, I can't count on them to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so I'm not going to pick up the phone, right? I can count on you to pick up, right? I may have an issue that he might not know anything about, but I know he's going to pick up the phone, right? So I start there.
Yeah.
And so he has a good credit report with me, and that has boosted our relationship, right? And I hope it goes the other way around. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing this kind of thing together.
Yeah.
And so that stuff is just super, super important. So when you're figuring out who you are, and you're trying to really dive into what you give to the world, dive into what the world needs to give into you too, and go from there and just start working every day. Do the work.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think also going back to, I know we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but it was, kind of know your friends.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't get that mixed up with your followers. There's people that, they like me. They think I'm an okay guy, but we're not friends. We don't know each other very well. If I'm being completely honest, I probably only have 3 friends that, like you were saying, you can pick up the phone, call them, count on them to be there. Even though they may not know everything, that's fine, but they're going to be there. I've got people that let's just call them, I associate myself with them.
Sure.
Or, we know each other.
Yeah.
We like you. We get along, all right? But, I'm not going to, like you're saying, I'm not going to count on them. And that's fine to have, followers, but we shouldn't get them, mixed up. It's like, I said, Andrew Tate, he's got a lot of followers. Not all those followers are his friends.
No.
And sometimes, people bond over certain stuff like that. That doesn't mean that they are of the same drive, towards that. You've got to really dig in, figure out which ones are your friends, which ones are your followers, which ones are going to challenge me. Maybe not offer me something, but challenge me.
Yeah.
Because I think, we were talking about this earlier today, but, being comfortable. How many times have you been comfortable and been like, I'm succeeding? If you go to the gym, you're not comfortable.
Right.
But you're succeeding. Anytime you go, you said that, your first...
As long as you're doing the work.
Exactly. You said that you went to your first sprinkler job.
Right.
You weren't comfortable.
No.
But you adapted. And then you were successful in that.
Yeah.
And so I think if we find ourselves comfortable, we should be happy with that. You can be comfortable. used to work with a guy, and just workaholic dude, and there'd be someone new, like, can we take a break? He's like, you can sleep when you're dead. He's like, we got work to do, and it's true though, if you just check out and be like, okay, I'm comfortable here.
Yeah, you'll stay there.
Yeah,
you'll stay where you're comfortable.
You'll regress
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Because the world is going to keep moving,
Right.
whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those deals where you either move with it or
yeah. And the world's going to move at a pace that you can't just stay there and be in the same spot, right? Because everything adapts around you. So back in the day, they went from having landlines to cell phones to smartphones. If you kept your cell phone and you never got a smartphone, you're going to be way behind on some things, right? I'm going to come to your front door and ask for a credit card to pay me for the work that I did.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a cell phone, you can't get the link that says pay here, right? I mean, I'm sure I could send it to you via email or write me a check or give me cash or whatever, but the world's going to move on around you, right? So we're going through that right now. If you haven't heard of it, look into it. ChatGPT. This is a huge thing that's going on. It's an AI program that knows a crap ton, and I've already started implementing it in my business.
Yeah.
I say, hey, ChatGPT, write me an email telling my customers to call me for sprinkler service. And it just, boom, blast out an email, take that, shove it out to all my customer bases, and I didn't have to do a thing about it, right? But if I wouldn't have seen the value in that, everybody's changing, everybody's using it, right? All the guys I work with are using it.
Yeah.
So if I don't adapt, I'm going to be way behind. I'm going to be wasting my time writing emails when a program can do it for me in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's not just standing still. You're either going forward or you are moving backwards. And the more and more the world progresses in technology and its way of living, the more exponential difference that's going to be, right? 50 years, if you stayed where you were, you might go backwards, but a mile at a time, a mile every minute. But now you might go backwards 10 miles every minute. And that's an exponential factor, and the world's going to keep growing.
Yeah.
And so you've got to adapt, and you've got to be uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is something I can talk about all day.
Yeah.
No, think about the first time you went to the gym. First time out.
Yeah.
What did you do?
You see all those ripped guys in there lifting weights, and you're like,
Yeah.
25 pounds on
right? You're fat, you're skinny, you're not, you can barely bench press the bar. I mean, I was lucky. I worked out so many push-ups and pull-ups. I went there and did like 135 the first time I ever did bench press. I was like, yeah, I'm better than all y'all. But I was uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do. Was I using good form? I don't know. Right? I didn't know. I was scared as crap. Everybody's judging me. Everybody's looking at me. So to be uncomfortable is the only way to move forward. So with that, I think that's a wrap. Again, if you enjoyed this, please like us and follow us. It'd be great if you shared. We're a new podcast. We'd love to get out there and really try to help young men and even some mid-aged men might be able to take something from this. So if you have somebody you think could learn from this, somebody who's struggling, who's dealing with their self-image, who's dealing with addictions, who's dealing with something they're struggling with and they're trying to do something with their life. They're trying to change but need help. Just share this with them. And, we're going to do everything we can to help the world become a better place.
Yeah.